Hey, let me just turn it around. Oh, I can do that with the camera. Greetings and welcome. My name is Jake Rayson. I am a forest gardener and a forest garden designer, and this is my weekly forest garden live stream. My mum died last Monday, so I'm just taking it a bit steadier. I'm not kind of doing big, in-depth live streams with lots of detail and research and slideshows and the like. It's just me bodding about the place, bodding about the garden, which is what I'm going to do for the rest of the week. It's actually good I've come out because I can see there's some potatoes down here. They're kind of volunteer potatoes and they're kind of swamping the... I need to dig them up because they're shading out the onions. So I will actually do that. And then there's other jobs to do as well. This is my kale bed. These need watering, so I've got some water on the go. So I'll go and do that in a minute. And yeah, there's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. There'll be a Zoom meeting at 10:30. Let's go into the shade a little bit, and the children are screaming already. There's a couple of things I wanted to talk about. Firstly is this is originally the annual bed, so I had like a lot of annual stuff, annual vegetables in here, potatoes and sweet corn and squash and things like that. So I had a lot of stuff like that going on, but this year decided to turn it into a perennial forest garden type thing, which is much better. I'm so much happier about doing it. And along the way, this is that's goose. This is goose grass. Not goose grass. Goosefoot. Is it? Goosefoot. Oh, Chenopodium album. It's very closely related to Good King Henry. You can see from the shape of the leaves, very similar. But this is an annual. I'll take that up later. I should probably eat it because you can eat the leaves. So I'm so glad. Oopsie! I'm very glad that I've done this. It doesn't look like much, but it's actually a really nice little system that I've got on the go. So I'm experimenting. This is a kale bed. That's actually onions. Need to take the potatoes out. Jerusalem artichoke aren't supposed to be there. They just refuse. I've transplanted a load, but they refuse to go. And then there's onions down there. So this winter I'll move them. Turkish rocket isn't supposed to be there and has refused to move. Lots of garlic, and then I've got climbers down here. American groundnut, Apios americana, mashua. And then Caucasian spinach, and again lots of kind of potato volunteers, and then Apios americana in tubs because apparently a lot easier to harvest. And then this bed is going to be like experimental. There's some Chinese artichoke and skirret. I quite literally just chuck them in, but I'll do more later. And there's bark on the beds, and then there's wood chip down here. And the lovely thing is that what you can do is to keep the wood chip bars clear, you get a hoe and take the tops off the dandelions and stuff, and pull out stuff you don't want. I'm getting rid of the annual stuff like that, not in a kind of dramatic sort of way. This is a rosemary willow herb, I think. So I'll get rid of that, but then I'm leaving the Germander Speedwell as a ground cover. And then I'll, knock the dandelions back if they get in the way, but I'm not really fussed about dandelions, to be honest. And so it's a very nice, little system. So the idea is to grow a variety of different ground cover. So there's Taiwanese raspberry, that one. There will be, Nepalese raspberry by the onions. And then I'm going to there's ground ivy down here, and then Nepalese raspberry on these two. And yeah, so just to kind of reduce the amount, and then you can always compost individual plants as well. It's not like you can't compost if you're using a ground cover. Of course you can. So it's a nice combination. Some plants you don't need to compost. Some plants like alliums might do with a little bit of a boost. And what's great about it is I'm starting to use the space much more, concentrating on one space, and it's actually helped it being laid out in a grid. So there's Good King Henry up here, and then I've got fruit bushes. Yeah, I meant to label them. I forgot to label them. I can't remember which ones they are. But there's jostaberry, blackcurrant, possibly gooseberry down here as well, red currant. You can't really see them, but they're all in this border down here, and so that's really good. That's like fruit bushes, vegetables, spinach kind of substitute there. So it's this all starting to work nicely together. So I'm kind of quite happy with that. And what I have found, there's a couple of things that I found. So I will put let me just turn the camera around. There's a couple of things that I found. So the first thing that I found is I've known about him for a long time, for a few years. Alan Carter up in Aberdeen, and he's got a website of plums and pig nuts, I think it's called. He just recently moved it to foodforest.garden. It's a WordPress blog, and he's moved it to his own domain. But it's brilliant. I have never really sat down and read it, and I don't actually tend not to read whole websites, but his stuff is brilliant. I mean, him and Stephen Barstow, Elementals.com, are like two websites. I just say just look, just to idly peruse and look up information. They're both of them really, really good, really fantastic. And the other one is Alison Tyndale at Backyard Larder. Her newsletter is really good. I wish there was a way of getting information from the newsletter onto your website. Do you know how I mean? So that you can have a reference for it. So those are three really, really good kind of people. And what I like about Alan Carter is that he actually cooks with his produce as well. So there's lots of ideas about how he slates Mashua. He doesn't get on with it, doesn't like the taste of it, doesn't yield well for him up in Aberdeen, which is quite funny. I've got some here, and yeah, I'm not particularly keen on the tubers. So it's a really, really good website. And one of the things he's got is also, apart from lots of recipes, he also has 4 myths about forest gardening. I can only remember a couple of them, but one of them is the curvy lines. Like, a lot of people come to forest gardening from permaculture, and there's this obsession with curves. To be honest, I think it depends, is always the bottom line. It depends upon your setup as to whether a curvy line works for you or not. I do find that curvy lines actually look bloody nicer. That's just part of the issue. So I know it's a bit wild down here, but this is Rosa rugosa hedge, windbreak hedge, and it's on a curve. And this is a future project. This is going to be a herb wildflower garden. Currently not doing a vast amount at the moment. Where's my other? Oh, it's up here. There's a yellow dogwood up here, and basically a bit of string and a stake, and I drew out a circle, and then this windbreak here, and it works really, really well. So you can have curves, and a curve around the pond, the wildlife pond. So you see, it does, visually it works. It's kind of like more attractive. And I think this is the crux of the issue. The crux of it really is that a forest garden is doing more than one thing, which is the whole kind of point of a forest garden. So it's an edible ecosystem that you're creating conditions like the Jerusalem artichoke, for example. Bags of shade. You don't need a ground cover for it, which is one of Alan Carter's other thing. You don't need ground cover if you've got this much stuff going on. But there's lots of other things. There's lots of other things going on. So you have you're growing food, you're providing cover for wildlife. If these were to flower, which they might possibly, they're not a particularly flowering species. Maybe not. Then that's providing, nectar for pollinators and pollen for pollinators. And you're creating a lot of habitat. There's a lot of stuff going on. So I'm emptying the water out there. But it's also a place not just for food, not just for wildlife, but for people, and how you integrate it with people. And I think what is the attraction of a forest garden, it's the wildness of it, and also the kind of beauty of it that you can have. I've got some white mustard as a temporary ground cover. There's brachioglottis, little yellow flowers, meadow sweet Sicily earlier on, red cornus behind it. So what you've actually got going on is a lot of different flowers. So the children are coming. Excuse me 1 second. Mads, I'm live streaming, little fella. Okay? Give me 20 minutes. I'll be back in, okay? All right. Yeah. Anyway, sorry about that. Kids are off on holiday. So, yes, this will be a bit like that. So, the point is that there's lots of different things going on, and I think it's really kind of important to understand that gardens are for people as well, and that you can have a garden as a place of solace and a garden as a place for reflection, as well as all the other things as well. You know, it's not just one or the other, not like vegetable patch and then flower patch. It's kind of a bit more involved than that. So I think what is actually I found, this is a total, it's an accident for me, but it's what I found so good about having this annual vegetable patch. It's annual vegetables, it's traditional raised beds, which I've now dismantled, and lots of plastic ground cover sheet and everything. What's kind of good about it is that now this is a kind of focal space, as I was saying, and so I'm putting more things and spending more time here. So that's really, really kind of a bonus. There's a lot of attention being paid to it, but you can combine that with a visual design as well. I'm not really doing it here, which is fine, but I have, for example, put in some wild carrots down at the bottom here of this particular bed, of the kale bed. There's a sea kale, Dublin's kale, and then there's some Annie's kale from friend Annie, and a bit of chard in there as well. Ground ivy and Jomanda speedwell, and there's a couple of wild carrot. I'll show you the wild carrot. And I put them in because because I can, and they don't take up that much room. They're kind of tall, and they're beautiful flowers. Carrot flowers. They're absolutely gorgeous. This is autumn king. This is some carrots I let go to seed, and as you can see, they're these ones here. Aren't they incredible? Absolutely amazing. Stunning flowers. So yes, you can have both. You can have all of it in the same space. So you can have kind of curved lines, and it doesn't have to be regimented. I think this is what you're kind of getting at, is like, what's the focus, what's the purpose of the garden, what's your kind of point. And I think Alan Carter actually, and I don't know much about the chap, but I'd imagine he kind of does harvest an awful lot of food, in which case straight lines, he's saying straight lines are good because it makes it easier to hoe, and hoeing is good to kind of keep down the crops, keep down the weeds, which are kind of keeping down the crops. But if you've got a system where you've got ground cover and you're not too fussed about how much of a harvest or how much time you're spending there, do you want to be hoeing in a forest garden? Do you want to have so it's not like a straight yes no answer. It's kind of more complicated because you're doing more things. It's not just a forest garden, isn't just one thing. So and I do find it's fascinating, like with Alison Tyndale. She has a lot of perennial vegetables, and she grows a lot for her. She has an online shop at backyardlarder.co.uk. She has an online shop, and she has to grow vegetables to sell. So she needs to grow them quickly and to be able to ship them out, and so it's a business, and so she makes money from it. And so it's a different setup. It's a different thing. Doesn't make it any less valuable. Doesn't make it any less valid. It's doing the right thing. It's kind of looking at growing organic, perennial. I'm guessing vegan. I don't know if she is or not, but organic perennial vegetables. So it is a good thing. So yes, there's lots of different things going on within a forest garden, and you can have all of it. And this kind of comes on to a little informational advert. I am going to start. What I'm going to start doing to two things that I want to start doing. Well, it's actually more than that, but basically, firstly, is to start advertising the design work that I do. So I've been a web designer and a graphic designer, and I've been designing and building stuff without even realising it for most of my adult life. And I kind of really enjoy designing forest gardens, wildlife and forest gardens. So I'm starting to push that more. So if you do know anyone who wants a garden designed or helping with a garden, that's what I do. So do pass my name on. And that's Nature Works. I'm building a new website at the moment for that. So that's a part of it. And the other side of that is kind of helping people transform it's transforming spaces into like wildlife and forest gardens. Edible ecosystems, and the other side of that is making courses. So I've made one course, which is the backyard forest, which is cool, which is actually ticking over. I haven't spent much time on it, and I kind of obviously I've had a lot of things going on. But what I am going to do, the other side of this, is to promote that side. So there's basically, at the moment, it's all kind of hosted somewhere else, and they take 50% of the money that's being made, which isn't a vast amount. I mean, I maybe make £50 to £100 a month, but it's nice to have. Don't get me wrong, but for the amount of work that went into it, that's about 3 months solid work went into that course. It's not like I'm not raking it in. So what I do need to do is to start to build up the mailing list, and this is like the Nature Works mailing list and the newsletter. And so I'm going to have a big, long, hard look at it's getting the information that people want. So every week, people get information about it's about the live stream that's going on, which I'll keep on doing, and it's also like the information that people want about forest gardens and what's useful for them. So those are the kind of two things. So the garden design, wildlife and forest garden design, and the courses. And I must say, there's a Telegram group. Telegram's like WhatsApp, and there's a Telegram group as well. And there's such a bunch of very, very nice people on that group. It is definitely one of the best things to have come out of the whole pandemic experience for me, and doing the live streaming and everything. That's like a real bonus I never even saw coming. So yeah, there we go. Anyway, info advertorial kind of informational thing. Oh, the other thing was I'm kind of thinking a lot about systems and about political systems at the moment. So if you're in the UK, if you're in the UK, and particularly if you're in England, do take care out there. We have a government engaged in unethical and dangerous behaviour with regard to opening up all the kind of restrictions around COVID. And I know there are people who disagree with me, but I think whatever, really. I think go with the science. And I think this is something which relates back to forest gardening as well. There's a real kind of hippie element. I mean, don't get me wrong, some of my best friends are hippies, and there is an awful lot to be said for kind of caring and for being compassionate and having love for everything. That's great. That's really, really good. But please do use the science as well. Science is not one thing. Science is like an approach, is the kind of philosophy of science. It's how to approach a particular problem, but it's one of the few tools that we have at our disposal to look at experiences that are beyond ourselves. And absolutely, science can be distorted, and science can be abused, and science can be misrepresented, and so much of it comes down to the interpretation of the science as well. But it's the best that we've got for that particular methodology. It's not everything. It's a tool for the use for the promotion of life. It's not life itself. It's not the end product. It's not the thing that you're looking at. It helps to evaluate, and there will always be argument. But science is a good thing. It's a good thing. I really, honestly, truly believe this. This is not like, I get very frustrated when I saw a sign about there's anti-lockdown protests on Monday in London, and there was a sign up saying climate hoax and COVID hoax. And I just thought, no matter how much science and no matter how much proof, no matter how much evidence there is going on, a lot of people who have this belief, they're kind of fixed in this ideologically driven belief. That's kind of going nowhere. That's just like you're on a dead end. It's no good. So science, there's bad science is worse than science, but no science is worse than both of them. So there is a place for science, and there is a place for science, I think, and it's coming back to Alan Carter's point about harvesting in the forest garden and the use of straight lines for hoeing and keeping the weeds down and a productive space. Absolutely. You know, let's look at that practices. Let's look at what the garden's being used for and what we're getting from it. And don't be afraid to kind of say, actually, I don't think, you know, in this situation, for my purposes, this doesn't work. Let's do it. Let's just discuss it. So there's that. And so looking at systems, there was a quote from Christine Lariviere, who's a ecological commentator, economist, political. Oh, I don't know. She's in Berlin. She's great. She's got some very kind of really interesting stuff. Very much into foraging and fungi, and she's kind of. I really like her stuff that she does on Twitter. Not like massively prolific or anything, but I like a lot of what she has to say. And I had to be honest, I haven't looked at her. She has got like a lot of lectures, and she does a lot of different other stuff, which to be honest, I haven't had much of a chance to look at, but I will. Anyway, she had a quote from John Steinbeck. That's a quotable quote from John Steinbeck. And how much shall I read? Okay, I'll just read the first kind of couple of sentences anyway. So John Steinbeck, and this is Grapes of Wrath. The works of the roots of the vines of the trees must be destroyed to keep up the price. And this is the saddest, bitterest thing of all. Carloads of oranges dumped on the ground. The people came from miles to take the fruit, but this could not be. How would they buy oranges at 20 cents a dozen if they could drive out and pick them up? And it goes on, but that is, for me, there's got to be a better bloody way. There really has. Food isn't in short supply, as Oxfam famously has said for the past, I don't know how many, 50 years or whatever. Food isn't in short supply in the world, justice is. And it's an unjust economic system that we have where people are going hungry. Where we've got, I don't know how many million kids are there in poverty in the UK, in the world's 6th richest country in the world. I think, is it 3 million children are in poverty? Or it might be, or is it only 1 million? I don't know the numbers on it, but it's kind of... it's not good enough, really. It really isn't good enough. And there must be a more equitable a system of economic distribution, basically. That's what I'm getting at. So, yeah. And how do forest gardens fit into this? I think there has to be a seismic shift in the kind of philosophy. How do we bring that about? Everything is so much tied in to the kind of strictures of the system within which you're operating. Like when in Western capitalism, we have the whole idea of property. We own this land is ours, and we can do with it what we will. Just to give you an example, okay, so we're very lucky, don't get me wrong. I mean, my dad died, which is why a few years ago, which is why we could afford to buy this place. We could chop down that oak tree and chop down that ash tree and chop down that oak tree and the sycamore tree, and we could do all that because we can, because we're allowed, because it's ours. And that, to me, is wrong. I don't know, I just find it really... The whole sense of property and ownership is just all kind of very, very, very messed up, and it comes down to an economic system where people are ripping up trees and ripping up hedges and destroying habitat because they can make money out of it, and that's what they do. Anyway, I do feel that it's kind of it's not there's something has to kind of shift, something has to change, and an alternative has to be provided. I don't know where I'm going with this, to be honest, but I do think it's kind of pertinent. So that's what I was doing in the previous life. I was a politics student as well, so kind of interested in politics and the kind of philosophy of it, but also this kind of translates into forest gardens, which are, as we all know, very complex systems. Anyway, this is what I was going to be doing today, which I haven't done yet. This is the wildlife pond. This is the first ever pond that we made. There's the way. I don't know if you can see. It's all tangled up. This is where I don't know if you can see that. That's the water lily there, and there's a couple other things in there as well. Oh, there's a rosebay willow herb, is it? No, it's not. It's I can't remember the name of it. Sorry, my brain's all over the place at the moment. Anyway, as you can see, it's kind of not this. is supposed to come to bins. This is supposed to be in 2 parts. This is supposed to be lemon balm this side and oregano that side. This is actually hogweed and the dog's barking. Hogweed and buddleia and nettle and grass, and there's some lesser stitchwort and or vetch. I don't know the yellow one. Is that not toadflax? Might be this one here. So there's some nice little things in there. Ooh. And I'm going to weed it basically, and then I've got a load of lemon balm to go. I've got a lot of lemon balm in pots to go in here as well, and then oregano at the top. I've got more oregano to put into. So this is one of the next jobs that I've got to do, is sort that out. And I was just going to set up the camera and just get on with it. And you could see me sweating in the boiling sun, but I think that's half an hour pretty much. So I'm going to call that a day. Thank you for watching my rambling low-key live stream, and see you soon. Cheers, bye.